I taught myself how to make my own clothes. I was sick of never finding what I want in stores, and I wanted clothes that mean something to me. But despite my best intentions, I've made a ton of stuff I don't wear. So I thought I'd try an experiment. What if I could only make myself one final outfit? Specifically, a shirt and a pair of pants. That seems simple enough, right? But if it's gonna be my final outfit, it can't just be something that I wear all the time. It also has to use all the techniques I've been meaning to try. And of course, make a statement about who I am and what's important to me. Soon enough, my experiment was turning into a torturous, all-consuming process. I spent weeks in my room. I traveled home to Canada for inspiration. And up until the very end, I was left wondering, would I even make something coherent out of this mess? To come up with a basic vision for the outfit, I thought I'd start taking a look at some of the things that I already own that I wear very frequently. So this jacket is actually the first time I bought something knowing that it would last me a long time. It just makes me feel really good. It fits me really well. It makes me look really good. It's really flattering. And then there's these boots that I got online. They're from like a leather tannery in Italy. I got them used. And then because I love the boots so much, I got this bag from the same place. And I bought it with the expectation that I wouldn't need any other bag. Like, this is the bag. And it's been that way. With these three pieces, the general theme is like really good quality, black. Everything has an organic shape and texture. And so I think with the other two pieces, that like the shirt and the pants, I want to do the same thing. Like, I want it to be black. I want it to have like a really beautiful texture and like a high quality process of dyeing the fabric. So I've gone ahead and I've chosen two fabrics. The first is this really sheer, light, drapey silk, and I'm gonna use that for the top. And then for the pants, I'm gonna use this linen cotton blend that I got when I was traveling in Japan earlier this year. It also has a really beautiful texture, but it's heavier. So I said that I wanted to use black for the outfit to go with the clothes that are already black. Then the next question for me was like, what kind of dye am I gonna use? And there's this dye that I've been obsessed with all summer, and it has this beautiful texture when you dye with it. So yeah, let me tell you more about it. This is the dye. It's kind of magical. It's called kakishibu, and it's a traditional Japanese dye. And it's actually orange. It's made from the juice of unripe persimmons that's been fermented for a few years. I'm still figuring out how to use this dye, but this is the process that I followed. You prepare a certain concentration of the dye, and you dip the fabric in it.
So dark.
And then you put the fabric in the sun, and over time in the sun, the UV rays of the sun cause the dye in the fabric to get darker, like a darker orange. And if you want a darker color, you repeat this. You might be wondering why I'm using an orange dye to make an all black outfit. Well, kakishibu can be turned black, and I was just curious to see what shade of black I could get. The problem's that you need a lot of dye and a lot of sun to make the kakishibu dark enough to turn black. And summer was ending, and so was my lease. And with my lease ending went my rooftop access. So I found myself in a race against time.
Okay, so this is really annoying. I just got back from the club, but it's sunny for the next 2 days, and then it's gonna be cloudy for the rest of the week. So I am going to dye all of the fabric right now. Yeah. Oh. Just gonna lay down for a second.
I haven't been able to get the fabric dark enough. I've done like 6 dips and like 3 weeks in the sun. When I go to test what the fabric looks like when we've treated it, it's still kind of gray. I'm going to dye the fabric with a really strong solution. I've measured out 500 milliliters of solution, and I need to basically increase the concentration from 10% to 20%. Oh my god. My lease ended. I haven't been able to get the fabric to be dark enough yet. I've moved out, and basically I've run out of time. After I moved, I went and I visited this photography exhibition. A lot of the photos in it show how we've transformed the surface of the planet to serve our civilization. There's this quote on the wall. These places look inhuman for their scale and for their poisons and hazards, but they're the landscapes on which most human beings now depend. It may be that industrial civilization is predicated on blindness and alienation, on not knowing that sweatshops or copper mines make your pleasant first world suburban existence possible. For that knowledge would at the very least make that existence less pleasant. As somebody with a pleasant first world existence, it's really hard knowing that a lot of the choices that I make in my life are trade-offs, and they come at the cost of the planet, the cost of somebody else not being paid a living wage. It's exhausting. There's so much, there's so much suffering, but it's easier just to look away. I think about it all the time. And it drives so much of why I'm doing this. It's like, can things be different? I read an interview of these kakishibu artisans, and one of them talked about having to shut down his conventional dye factory because it couldn't meet modern pollution regulations. But then he turned to kakishibu because it was a sustainable way of dyeing fabric. It's just made from parsimons. That's also what drew me to this technique. It's a traditional craft that can address modern problems, like pollution. It's time to dye the fabric. Turn it black. Finally, we're going to immerse it in a solution of iron. This is ferrous sulfate. I'm going to dissolve this in water, and then we're going to put the fabric in it, and it's going to turn black. So the thing that I really like about natural dyes is that the colors are so interesting. Like, you get a richness of like color that I just don't see like in clothes that I get off the shelf. Because the colors are so complex, you can get clothes that transform based on the conditions of the day. I think it's kind of poetic, honestly. Is that not our condition too? Like, even with something as simple as like a black outfit, I'm using all these complicated techniques. I spent a month dyeing the fabric orange, all to basically throw it all away for this black. But to get this black, you have to put in all of that work. And then also you get all of the really interesting textures because I use that dye. I could have like got RIT dye and dyed this with RIT dye, and I would have been able to do it in like 10 minutes, but it just wouldn't be the same. Yeah, here I am doing things the hard way, but it is very beautiful.
Hi. You're a good girl, Misty. You know that? You know that, right?
That's all the attention you're getting. The fabric came out so beautifully, like, it's crazy. So this is the side that has been in the sun for a month, and this is the side that has not been in the sun for a month. And there's these two colors, both are really beautiful. Like, they're both really beautiful. What if I had pants that are reversible? Like, you can wear them inside out or outside out. Okay, I love having problems, clearly, because this just gave me more of them. Now I have to worry about the seams. Will they look good from both sides? And the zipper, and the pockets. The first issue is with the seams. Usually when you have clothes that are inside out, there's this thing called a surging stitch that holds all the frayed edges. That just screams inside out. So I had to choose a different seam, and I ended up using this thing called the flat fill seam. Imagine these are the raw edges of fabric, and usually you join them like this. Here is the outside of the pants. Now instead we take the two raw edges and we encase them like this. Now you see both the raw edges are on the inside, and on both sides it looks really clean. With the zipper, usually there's a zipper guard and there's like a button. The zipper guard is complicated as so already, one-sided, and I didn't want to think about like two-sided, so I ended up just putting the zipper straight on the pants like nothing. And then before I could get to figuring out how to hide the pocket bags when you're wearing your pants inside out, I got distracted by a much bigger issue. We've got this situation going on, which obviously is not flattering at all. Yeah, totally. Totally fits still, so I think that should be like... But The legs were too boxy. I wanted the pants to sort of be tapered. And I thought maybe this was an opportunity to add an alteration that could symbolize something important to me. But what? The Bertinsky quote had already been rattling around in my mind, and that had actually started to connect with something that I heard the Wet'suwet'en activist Frida Huson say at a panel that I attended.
Right now, mankind is so disconnected. Everything is just so consumeristic and everybody's got to make more money than they actually need. I did all that and I didn't feel fulfilled. That's what colonization is where we're all sucked and sucked into the system. That's a flawed system. I think decolonizing for me is for people to get back to your roots. You don't have to be indigenous to get back to your roots because everybody came from somewhere. Met my partner, took me back into the mountains, to all my territories. I felt like I came alive again. That's what made me stand up for the land because I was connected to it.
I decided to take her advice and I actually flew back to Canada to visit the place where I felt most connected to nature growing up, in the hopes of finding some inspiration. I have these memories of the water here on some mornings being so still that the sky blends into the lake. You can't see the horizon. And off in the distance, there'd be these flocks of cormorants splitting the horizon. When you're rowing well, you begin to fly like those cormorants, and you feel connected to the water, to the boat, and to your partners. But you also feel so still. Getting to row again actually reminded me of something I learned from Elder Bill, who was a Haudenosaunee elder in university who had a big impact on me. He taught me about the two-row wampum, which depicts two different vessels moving side by side down a river in mutual respect, with neither vessel trying to steer the other. Learning about this helped me understand how to have a harmonious relationship with my rowing partners. Rather than changing ourselves to match another partner's rowing style, we support each other by focusing on what we can do in our own styles to feel connected to the boat. When I got back, I decided to pleat my pants in parallel lines to honor this moment of realization when I learned how to have a harmonious relationship with others. And I discovered that by pleating it by hand, you get these irregularities that look a lot like the cormorants along the horizon. By adding more pleats in different places, I can shape the pants, and so I made them into a barrel leg. When I'm wearing them, the pleats can also remind me of my rowing club and how to relate in a good way with nature and the people in my life. I added all of the pleats to the whole thing. I just don't really feel like I like it that much. It's like I'm trying really hard, you know? It looks like that. And I don't like that. Like, it's very loud. I started to crash out yesterday because it was just too much. I just started second guessing myself. Was it worth going through like the 5-week like daily work to get this beautiful orange and then just to turn it like this color? They're kind of brown. It's like the grief, you know, putting in so much work and then it's not exactly how you wanted it to turn out. I can only complain so much. Because it was an experiment. To contrast with the heaviness of the pants, I'm gonna try to make the top as light as possible. So this is the silk. Yeah, it's just such a beautiful color. And so the way I'm gonna do this top is really light touch. It's gonna be bias cut, and I'm not gonna finish any of the edges. Everything is just gonna be a raw hem. So what is the bias cut? There are two kinds of ways of making fabric. The first is to weave fabric with threads going over and under each other at 90-degree angles. The fabric formed by weaving isn't as stretchy, and it's used for making things like button-downs or jeans. The other way to make fabric is to knit it, with threads forming interlocking loops. This fabric is stretchy, and we use it to make t-shirts, tank tops, sweatpants. The bias cut is a way to make woven fabric stretchy. I've got this fabric here and it's woven, and if I take these two opposite corners, it doesn't stretch. If I take the two quarters on the diagonal, it stretches a lot. So bias cutting is taking your pattern pieces and instead of cutting them along the straight grain, you cut them diagonally. The bias cut gives a really beautiful slinky body skimming look. It's usually used in feminine clothes like skirts or dresses. Why am I making my tank top bias cut? Well, I really wanted to use the silk, and the silk is a woven fabric. A tank top that doesn't stretch wouldn't look very good. And I wanted to try this method of zero waste bias cutting. Bias cutting takes up a lot of fabric. You're taking a rectangular piece of fabric and then you're arranging all these pieces diagonally on it. And then you're gonna get all these like extra triangles. It's notorious for wasting a lot of fabric. But in this book by a fashion blogger, she talks about a technique called the bias tube, and that wastes a lot less. So let me show you how it's done. Okay, first I'm gonna fold down this corner. Now I'm gonna cut along this line formed by the fold. Now I'm gonna sew these two pieces together along this seam. Now for the weirdest step. I'm gonna take that corner and sew to this corner and sew to this corner. So this is the bias tube. It's stretchy along these. And this is the straight grain. It's the final day, hopefully. I've got the bias tube and I have to turn it into a tank top. It's really useful that it's a tube because all I have to do is cut out the neck and cut out the arms from the sides.
Okay, so got the arms to basically fit.
Now I have other problems, namely that, making me look like a balloon. I'm gonna get rid of that fabric by doing the same thing that I did with the pants, just like pleating it. And then we'll see how it fits. Yeah, it fits quite well. It's like hugging my torso. That's it. I think it's basically done. I'm happy with this. This was so simple, this was so easy, and it looks really good. So, yeah. I am so close to being done. I just have to attach the pockets to the pants. If you remember, the pants are reversible. I want the color of the pockets to peek through the pants. So what I'm doing is I'm adding buttons to the pockets and buttonholes to the pants like this. Basically, you can put the pockets on both sides of the pants. I'm done. Finally, this has been a long journey, but I'm still thinking about that Bertinsky show. And I think what I've sort of come around to is that we're totally disconnected from the process of making clothes, but it doesn't have to be this way. When I used to shop for clothes, most of them didn't make me feel good about myself, and it took actually learning how to sew to realize that the problem wasn't me. Someone else decided what I could choose from, and if I didn't fit into their vision, then good luck. But I was tired of this, so I taught myself how to make my own clothes. And then when I wanted to explore lower waist ways of making clothes, I taught myself how to make my own patterns. And then when I couldn't find the fabric in the stores that I liked, I just dyed my own fabric. And learning all of these skills has given me the power to create on my own terms. I no longer have to accept the choices that others give me. And you can have that power too. We all can. That's what I want to share with you guys. I've taken you guys on a journey through my obsessions and inspirations. I've stitched a lot of the things that are important to me into this outfit, and hopefully these details will keep me grounded as I leave for an even more ambitious journey. See, the ideas keep coming. There's too many to stop here. This might be the last outfit I make for myself for a while, but it's not going to be the last outfit I make. Over the next year, I'll be taking you guys with me as I make outfits for my friends. The question I'll always ask is, what would your last outfit look like? I'm calling this project Cormorant because it reminds me of the place where I first learned to move in harmony with the world. And when I think of cormorants, I see infinite possibilities in the open vista of the lake and sky. But I need your help. If you're interested in coming along, please subscribe to my channel. That lets me continue to make outfits for my friends and grow as a designer. And in exchange, I'll keep you guys entertained, informed, and hopefully inspired. And we all will experience the effort, the heartache, and the satisfaction of creating something real.